Right, let's look at Learning Unit 2, see the objective, and it really is about teams and team performance. If you're going to reference a statement, Elizabeth, from the case study, you'll see that there are references. Use the first reference on the case study to reference the case study, if that's your question. Use the first reference underneath the case study to, okay, I've got it right. Okay, so let's look at the role of leaders in delivering team performance. Not worried about that. Give me examples of teams that work in South Africa and what makes them work. Give me examples of teams that work in South Africa and what makes them work. Because you're right, boy, Pelo and Kyle. I think if we had to ask the question broader, what works in South Africa, we'll have the same answer. I don't know if that's a fair comment, because so much doesn't work in South Africa. Always the box, and it's a leading question, to be honest with you. I knew it would be the Springboks. What makes them work? Last night, the Blitzboks as well, guys. Can we just give credit to the Blitzboks for winning the Vancouver Sevens as well last night? So it's become a discussion on the rugby tonight. What makes the Springboks work? It's the leadership, the idea of diversity, and you're right, Tatu, the way we've embraced diversity. One of my favorite comments came from the hooker, who is the hooker along with Malcolm Marx, that I forget his name now. And he said that Rassie doesn't care if you're black or white, he cares that you can play. And for me, that was one of the most powerful indications that we've moved along a very, very long way in South Africa. For Pete's sake, I can't remember his name now. Okay, he doesn't play for the Springboks anymore, though. Yeah, a perfect vision. There is a powerful vision, and that powerful vision relates to winning more World Cups. Is it possible for us to do 3 in a row? Because we will break history then if we can win 3 in a row. I think we can, actually. And we need it, guys. We have so few things to celebrate. And I'm not being negative. But you look at South Africa a couple of weeks after winning the World Cup. We're a different nation. We're a positive nation. The rand becomes stronger, which is scary to think that rugby can influence the value of your currency. Yeah, Bongi. Yeah, it was Bongi. Thank you, Philip. I mean, he said it in the very first, whatever the Springbok thing was called. Sorry, my brain is tired. So I think we can definitely do it. I mean, I like the idea of the vision. Give me examples of teams that don't work in this country. Examples of teams. The ANC. I read this really interesting article, and I think it stretches a little bit in terms of what it postulates. But the writer argues that the ANC, beyond this next group of elections, will be a non-entity. Will be a non-entity. One loss, boy. One loss. Oh my gosh. I shouldn't fold my arms above my head now because I might get a bad rating going forward, Lushle. Yeah. Liverpool, yeah, Kyle. I support Liverpool, which is the most difficult team in the world to support. So, yeah, no, it is about rage bait there a little bit. I think you've got wonderful examples. But the article argued that the ANC would be a non-entity after the next elections. Now, whether you're an ANC follower or member, I don't really care about that. But the ANC is dying in front of our own eyes. And I don't know whether it's about the B and the C and the D team, but it's going to be interesting post the next elections what will happen. There's some other interesting ones here. If we look at the team that works here, complementary skills, my goodness me, you've got Cheslin who can do absolute. The Sharks is a wonderful example. Put them in green and they work incredibly well. Put them in black and they can't play for nonsense. Yeah, no, Kyle, it's been a long time running that, hey? Yeah, I know. Supporting the Sharks is tough. I support the Lions despite living in Pietermaritzburg. It's become a therapy session here, guys. It's become a therapy session here. I need to stop interacting with my class because I'm breaking my students. Who started crying already? I need to see who's in tears. Um, I'm gonna get reported. And he made us cry last night. Caroline. Oh, I'm gonna get fired for being unprofessional, guys. So when we look at what a team is, I think the first thing that we have to remember, and here we can look at the Springboks again, is the complementarity of skills. If you look at those individuals in the different positions and you look at the people that replace them when they leave the field and the skill sets that are there. I mean, the fact that Cheslin can play scrum off, can feed the line out. I mean, the idea that what the complementarity of skills does is that it promotes trust. It promotes trust in the person next to you. And then other rules there. Common purpose. We know what the common purpose is. Rassie has no issue winning games leading up to the World Cup because the common purpose will always be to win the next World Cup. Very clear performance goals. If you see what those boys must be able to do, what they must be able to lift in the gym, how quick they need to accelerate over the first 10 meters, all of those have very, very clear standards. And every single person in that team has to adhere to those standards. And if you don't adhere to the standards, you don't get onto the pitch. And then this idea of mutual accountability. For me, we see that in terms of how they celebrate and how they mourn losses. I think everyone knows that we're in this together. And also, I think what Rusty does incredibly well is reminds people of the privilege there is associated with playing for the Springboks. And again, we talk about metaphors and we talk about stories, sharing how tough it is to be in South Africa and the ray of hope that the Springboks provide. And all of that defines the rugby team. A work group, essentially people who work together and with individual input, no complementarity of skills, individual accountability. Essentially, they standalone entities that somehow have to produce a piece of work. There's a vast difference. So where are the Bafana supporters? Where are the soccer supporters? So I can offend them as well today. I've offended everyone else. This is the rugby team. What am I going to say next? No, I'm not doing that. They're going to do well at the World Cup. So if we look at different types of teams, a departmental team, most of you would be part of a departmental team. So this is in marketing, you'll have a team. In HR, you'll have a team. Production teams are groups of individuals that get together to achieve a particular objective. Service teams are those that work together. So IT will have a service team. They'll service a variety of departments. Leadership teams are, because the world is so complex, we take the load of one leader to try and manage an organization. Yeah, unfortunately, you're right, Moete. Self-directed teams, yo, guys, this has been around since the 1990s. And the concern is that we see so little evidence of this in South Africa. A self-directed team, first of all, replaces a structure that looks like this. Now, this is that tall traditional structure. We have lots of levels. You have lots of people reporting to fewer managers and more and more. And, if there's a good idea here, by the time it gets to where a decision can be taken, just broken telephones has broken that idea. Self-directed teams form part of flat structures where you have your executive team, you have your senior management team, and then the rest of the organization is populated by self-directed or self-managed teams. And what makes a team self-managed and self-directed is the amount of power these teams have. These teams can make capital budget suggestions. They check their own quality. They set their own standards. They determine their own production lines. And the most important thing is they hire and fire their own teammates. So what happens with self-managed teams is that these teams have, as Vaughan Beals, the ex-CEO of Harley Davidson, says, has damn near infinite power. I should not try and do an American accent there. My apologies. They have damn near infinite power. Vaughan Beals from Harley Davidson said that. And it's the handing over of the running of a particular part of the organization to that team. The other side is also the pay is very different. The pay is based on every time you learn a new skill, you can contribute in a different way, your salary jumps. It is a wonderful way of looking at an organization. Here, if there is a good idea that has to be approved at that level, you have one layer and two layers. These guys will make capital budget proposals and make capital decisions once they've got. Netflix has it, Harley Davidson has it. There are a variety of American organizations that have adopted this as an approach. This has been around since the late 80s, the early 90s, and I see very little evidence of it in South Africa. Some of you might be part of this. They're called mission directed teams. So in South Africa, we've labeled it as mission directed teams. Anyone's organization look like this? Executive, senior, and the rest of the organization self-managed teams? Whose organization still looks like this? I'm worried I've asked this question before. Please don't tell me people still work in these kinds of organizations. This is the modern approach, and it's 30 years old. Guys, advisory teams. So this would be your team of legal advisors. Project teams. So your project teams work slightly different. They are cross-functional in that they adopt a matrix type structure. So these project teams essentially will have people from finance, marketing, etc., on the same team. So they will report to the project manager on the side while still having to do their functional duties and report to their functional manager. But they get together. So a couple of the car companies do this. I know Cadillac does it, where if there's a new model that they launch, they bring in people from engineers, they bring in people from marketing to represent what customers are looking for. They bring in the scientists to tell us what the latest science is. And then you bring someone from the production line to tell you what we can actually build with the equipment that we have. So those task teams, project teams are astonishing, in particular in organizations that are highly innovative. guys. And then also just virtual teams. Some of you might be part of a virtual team. I've been part of a couple. I've worked on virtual teams with people that I will never meet face to face, that don't even share the same continent, let alone the same city or province as I do. And then communities of practice. These communities of practice, guys, are often the quality circles. I don't know if you guys have ever come across a quality circle or served on a quality circle. And if anyone's ever served on a quality circle, this was huge in the 90s with government departments. Okay. The idea of a quality circle is to get together and find improvement suggestions and innovations to make a team more efficient, make an organization work better. Okay. Why are there more teams in organizations now? I think the first one is increased competition. The thinking is that we need more brain power to deal and cope with the insanities that are the world right now. Because of the high levels of competition that's out there, you need to empower your employees to be innovative, to make improvement suggestions, to create new things. And then the world has gone insane to try and track the changes. It is near impossible for one person to do that. And the faster pace of work. So we need turnaround times to reduce. And then also, organizational delayering. This is an example of organizational delayering. The scary part of organizational delayering is that middle managers disappear completely. These frontline managers, supervisors get pulled into these teams, and there's your senior and executive management teams. Tell me about some of the teams that you guys are part of. Anyone part of a team where leadership rotates? Anyone part of a team where leadership rotates? Where the actual team leader role rotates? Worried that I'm not even getting positive responses to that, guys. This is the modern way. Project teams, you have 5 going. Tell me what the project teams are. And you have different people from different functional areas pulled onto those, Elizabeth. Goodness me, 5 projects. So someone from HR, marketing, operations, okay, project team. Any other kinds of teams that you guys are part of? We're still a part of a traditional department team. Senior management team, okay, mostly managed teams, okay. Oh my gosh, that's nice. Very nice, Elizma. Wonderful example of project teams, actually. As an external manager, because obviously it needs additional skills. Okay. The teams that you're part of, guys? Niska part of a senior management team, okay, looking after teams. Part of any other teams? Yeah, I'm worried that we have a lot of traditional structures represented. A lot of traditional structures represented here. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sales, design, marketing. I say traditional departmental series of teams, Philip. Okay, very cool. So okay, very nice, Carolyn. Caroline, my apologies. Your Tando, you deserve better than that. Tando, you deserve better than that. Yeah, and we are We are invited. Elisma had sent me an email earlier today that this entire class will be invited for a free weekend if everyone passes. So remember, guys, the objective is for everyone to pass. So in terms of these team structures, we need different skills. Please just remind me, have I discussed the idea of specialists, generalists, and versatilists? I do a lot of these classes. Have I discussed the idea of specialists? Haven't I? I thought I've done it here. Sorry, I teach a lot. Hey? Not yet. Yeah. So when we talk about the different skill structure, and again, guys, these are ideas that have been around for a heck of a long time. Hey, these are long-standing ideas. So when we think of the kinds of employees we get in the world, you get specialists. So your specialists would be in terms of, and I'm just going to use a toolbox. This would be your size 19 spanner. This is, and it has a range of things. This is a specialist marketer, a specialist HR person. You would put your GP in there, and also a variety of other specialists. Then you get generalists. Those of you that have played sport, these are the polyfillers of the organization. They're not skilled at a particular thing, but they can do a lot of things not really well. Your generalists. This is your shifting spanner. So this is your size 19. This is your shifting spanner. Then you get what is called a versatilist. Versatilist, versatilist. Versatilists are individuals who are specialists in a variety of areas. And when we think of modern team structures, you expect it to be a specialist in marketing, a specialist in finance, a specialist in HR, a specialist in, I don't know which one, supply chain, I've left out. So the idea is we still get versatilists, we still get generalists. Let's go back to that one. This would be the handyman at your work. This would be the kind of handyman person that you have. Specialists, as I said, versatilists are individuals that are equally skilled in a range of functional areas, but also are able to transition from operational stuff to strategic type roles. And it's to do it in a seamless fashion. Is this idea to seamlessly transition from marketing to supply chain. Your focus to survive organizations in future is to be that. I think we have a lot of this in class. I don't know how many people would consider themselves a versatilist. And to just say, guys, for me to survive what I do, I have to be a versatilist. I need to know as much about this stuff here, leadership, as I do about motivation, as I do about research, as I do about, general management and other bits and pieces. Because I'm able to lecture across a range of subjects. Also, I think some of you might be aware, my master's degree is in labor law. Not that I've practiced or used it in a very long time. If you can take something from tonight's lecture, it is to become that thing there. Any comments on the notion of a versatilist? Entrepreneurs should be versatilists. The danger, though, sometimes entrepreneurs are generalists. And I think that's what separates really good entrepreneurs from excellent entrepreneurs. I think sometimes they are generalist entrepreneurs. Okay. You also just say Steve Jobs was a wonderful entrepreneur, but realized that he had limitations. So he surrounded himself with really, really competent people. I mean, to start his business, he had Steve Wozniak, and Steve Wozniak could code anyone under the table at that point in our history. And it is about that seamless transition. You're right, Izzy. It's to move between those different areas. And it's about not doing formal qualifications necessarily, guys. It is about studying and spending time. There are many ways of learning. This is an important way of learning because it gives you a formal qualification. It opens doors in the future. But learning does not just happen in a classroom. Please remember that. It is about being street smart. It really is about being street smart. Love the idea of that. So when we talk about different skill sets, I think that's where we see versatilists come into their own within a team environment. And then different patterns of leadership, guys. And the biggest pattern of leadership change that we see in teams, in particular in modern teams, is that leadership rotates depending on the project. So you change that. Well, and unfortunately, Philip, that limits those individuals from learning. That limits those individuals from learning. I'm going to type it in here, versatilist. Versatilist. There it is. Well, it's going to pick up as a spelling error because it's a word that we haven't embraced yet. Okay. And you can definitely go and do research. There's quite a bit of writing around versatilists. Okay. It's been around for a long time. And then just different control and monitoring systems. I think the key in terms of this, and I've gone and taken this away, in terms of those self-managed teams, is that it is self-control and self-monitoring. It happens in the team. It's not done by somebody external or a senior manager. So when we see the role of team leaders, I think, first of all, we know that leaders play a significant role. Again, just Russi Erasmus case in point. And I think the idea of self-managed teams, I think we need to remember that as much as leaders can contribute to team successes, leaders can also um, cause failures. Yeah, the Swiss Army knife example. Thank you. And I was going to use it and then I got sidetracked. So, Versatilist is a Swiss Army knife. Thank you so much for that, Elisma. Guys, I'm going to stop there. Any questions, any comments?